What's up, Conquerors? We are going to watch a replay review for our friend Booze Owen today. He's a Plat 1 this season. We're going to take a look at a 1v1 solo ranked game. He's played 37 games solo this season. Looks like he plays a lot more team games than he plays ranked. And we'll see what we can help him out with here. So he played Byzantine versus Delhi Sultanate, which is a bit of an interesting matchup. I looked at the win rates between the Civs and just overall Platinum, and then I looked at it in Conqueror just because I was interested, and it's fairly even matchup, generally around 50%. So to be honest with anyone watching the video, I don't play Byzantine, so I will trust that Booze here has he's looked at a build order online. He follows a specific build order that he's practiced. So if you don't have a build order that you're specifically practicing that you've gotten from a pro online, I highly advise that you do that. And the one thing I would say about build orders is your build most of the time is going to be very similar for the first couple of minutes of the game. But you always need to adjust based on what your opponent does, right? Like, we need to be flexible. We need to adjust based on what we scout and what we see our enemy doing, rather than just always sticking to a static build order and saying, regardless of what my enemy does, this is what I do. Build orders, I feel like, can sometimes get people in trouble with that, but the general efficiency of a build order when you first get things set up is very important. Like this cistern, great placement for the cistern, hits all your sheep, hits your gold, and you go Grand Winery to get the berries and the olive oil, which I know is the preferred build for Byzantine. You went with the olive grove early. A little idle time on the TC, which I know sometimes just happens early to me as well. But important to always keep it cranking out villagers, especially early in the game. The Delhi guy has a little bit of a weird build in this game. It's not something that I use. I'm not sure. We'll see what he does. But obviously, you're going to go Grand Winery. You're going to get olive oil. You'll get a mercenary house up. And, you know, you probably need a unit producer early to defend against Delhi. You go ahead and throw up a second cistern to get the wood, which I think is a good call. I don't love the stable here, just because you know he's also going stable. Like, I think it's fine to make the stable and make horsemen, but it might be better to open with Limitani. If you've scouted him, it really just depends on the military building that you've scouted him making. So if you see that he opens with a stable, you know he's going to make Ghazi Raiders. And Ghazi Raiders... Oh, he's building a tower. Ghazi Raiders are stronger than horsemen, so he's generally going to win those engagements on you. So I maybe would have preferred to see you open with Limitani to defend from the Ghazi Raiders that are going to get here quickly. And then if he goes in archers, then you can make horsemen as a counter to the archers. He tower rushes you here, which... I've never seen a Delhi player do a tower rush in my entire life. I've never seen that. I like playing Delhi. I've never done that. I'm just thinking about that. That's a very interesting tactic. So with Limitani, if you pumped a few out, they have the shield wall. You get enough Limitani, you can bring this down. The other thing, it doesn't look like he has a Ghazi too close yet. In this specific situation, if you wait till his tower gets to about 65%, he has no units guarding it, and you pull these villagers, you can burn it down or make him cancel and restart. So I normally wait till it gets to about 65%, because then he's going to want to finish building it, and you can get the burn damage in and take it. You just went a little too late here. Otherwise, you would have been able to have it. You might not have noticed it, and that's okay. But it does force you off the berries early. And you are making some horsemen to go raid. So, again, the horseman cost and the Ghazi cost is generally comparable. Ghazis cost just a little more, but they're a good bit stronger. So 15 more HP, 3 more base damage. So the Ghazis are going to be able to beat your horsemen, which I think is a bit of a problem. So I'd love to see you have a barracks. You could just have a Limitani sitting on the gold mine and defend against this Ghazi raider that's going to bother the heck out of you. He goes for a second tower, which is a bit surprising, but I guess, you know, why not, right? He's already got a villager up there. So again, horsemen can't really engage on the Ghazi. You'd have to have more horsemen than he has Ghazis to really engage in a fight. You go tower here. Again, I don't think this is like a scenario you need to be prepared for of the Delhi Sultanate tower rushing you. That's really rare. But if we had been stacking up Limitani here, he's just making Ghazis, we could have cleaned these towers up, protected our villagers a bit better, which is hard to do since we have no military here to protect our villagers. Something I feel like I see consistently is if you're down in a game, you have like you're thinking there's no way I win this game unless I counter raid at this point. It's fine to kind of leave your base and go counter raid. But at the beginning of the game, sometimes you just need to use your military units to protect your villagers and your base. So we sent the horsemen to go raid, but we kind of needed him at home to help defend. You went Western military contract for longbows. So again, he's making a lot of Ghazi raiders. I do really like longbows with Byzantines, but I could maybe have seen you going Keshiks. Ghazi do get a little extra damage against heavy, but I could maybe see you making Keshiks in this to combat them. So, I think the big thing here is we just need a barracks. He's got a lot of Ghazi raiders roaming. And we don't have barracks for Limitani to fight. He's just going to continually chase our horsemen. I know he will make archers, but that's when the Limitani horseman combo will come into play. Horsemen can go after the archers. Limitani can fight the Ghazi raiders. So you go to the gold back here. I totally agree. If someone blocks off your gold like this and you can't take it back, just move to another gold, right? Ideally, we want to put a gate here so our villagers can retreat if the outpost gets compromised. But I do like this wall a lot here. We just don't want them coming around the backside. So we're housed a bit. That's slowing down our town center and unit production. So what's really interesting that this Delhi guy's done, which is not what you would expect from Delhi. Normally you expect they're going to pour on the feudal pressure. What he's done is make a few Ghazi raiders, and he's going to Castle Age. So he basically made some units, tower rushed you, saw that you didn't have enough military units to fight back, and I assume he kind of said at that point, I'm going to go to Castle Age. So a few tips for you here. One, we still desperately need a barracks. because let's actually go in caster mode. We can see his 1 archer, 7 Ghazis. He's actually making spearmen, which you wouldn't really know yet. You could have scouted the barracks. But you're going into horsemen. So we never want to have 5 horsemen queued up at the same time. Essentially, that's 500 food that's just sitting in the queue, right? We want more military buildings. If we're going to fight in feudal, we want more military buildings to produce more units at the same time. Kind of same with villagers. You always want some villagers queued, but I'm not sure you need 6 queued. Again, that's 300 food just sitting in queue, 500 food here. That's 800 food that you just have queued up. That's kind of stuck up in production, if that makes sense, and will be stuck there for quite a while. So, yeah, I think the 1-1-1 combo would be fine here if you had archers, horsemen, Limitani. Just totally depends on what he makes. But I keep harping on the Limitani, but it's crucial to this game because he made a few Ghazis and he put you on the back foot. If you had Limitanis, you could have fought back, broken this tower rush, and then maybe our Delhi guy's not going Castle Age right now. He's going to clean you up here just because you have no counter to the Ghazi Raiders. So again, if you know the opponent's making a bunch of Ghazi Raiders, you can't move out onto the map with just longbows and nothing to counter the Ghazis. They'll just take you out. We had 6 horsemen queued up for a minute, back to 5. So the longbows will be very, very helpful for the spears that come out, but we can see he's going Castle Age right now. Honestly, if you had more guys on gold and you didn't have so many horsemen queued up, you could have clicked up to castle much earlier. Again, that'd probably normally open us up to Delhi killing us with feudal aggression, but that's not what this guy's going for. Yeah, I mean, I think generally in this matchup, or most matchups against Delhi, since I play a lot of Delhi, you need to make enough units to stay alive. Like, you can't just say, I'm going to naked fast castle, and then the Delhi guy captures 3 sacred sites and raids, the crap out of your villagers and base. You need to make enough units to stay alive. Draw the Delhi into some bad fights. Try to contest sacred sites or kill scholars where you can with more mobile units and try to prevent this wall up. So even if you were able to get longbows up here, shoot them when they wall, pull longbows back, that kind of thing, kind of harass them. Because right now he's kind of walling up all the sacred sites, capturing sacred sites, walling up sacred sites. Another thing you could do if you're scouting, his units are the bottom sacred site, you can just send 1 horseman to the top one to decap it. Once he moves his guys here, you can try to decap with different horsemen. So, we're floating a lot of resources. I know you're going to go to Castle Age here, but we still have 1,000 food. So, in this transition to Castle Age, I want you building units. There's a few things when you transition to Castle Age. One, if you have a bunch of resources, you should be making units during your transition. And 2, you want to stockpile gold so you can get unit upgrades. Like, we got to get the initial hardened Limitani, but, we'll want veteran horsemen. We'll want to upgrade to our veteran contract for the mercenaries. We'll want to upgrade to veteran Limitani. We want to get blacksmith upgrades. So we really want to crank out these upgrades as we hit Castle Age. You go for Varangian Guards, which I like, but it's unfortunate that, of course, we have God mode and we can see this, but our Delhi guy's main crossbowmen. And I think that's probably where our lack of scouting will hurt you is I don't think you know, one, that he's building walls out here, and two, that he's going men-at-arms crossbow. Like, we don't have any information on what the enemy's doing right now. I don't see a scout that you have on that side of the map. There's a lot of villagers running around gathering food from different points on the map uncontested, and he's still got these outposts, so he can actually see your army when it's leaving the base. So once you had some units up and he wasn't protecting these, I would have just burned both these down if I were you. Always want to make sure we have a scout with our army, otherwise we're kind of walking into an ambush / don't know what the enemy forces look like. That's quite important. And he's just, it looks like he's just going to get stone and castle off the keep, or keep the sacred sites. So again here, he's probably just got a bit too much for us to engage, right? We might just have to give up a keep on that one sacred site. You could maybe, if you were determined to engage here, just try to plug up the wall with the horsemen and then pick off the villagers with the longbows. But we don't want to get our Varangians and horsemen trapped in here. What's interesting here is you actually could have finished off these villagers with the longbows. But again, he can see what we have from the outposts, which is quite problematic, so now you're burning it. At this point in the game, though, the Delhi guy's got you. If I'm just looking at this game, he's got 3 sacred sites. He's got more military than you. He's getting his upgrades. He actually has not gotten veteran Ghazi Raider, and he's just making men-at-arms, so he hasn't gotten veteran spears. But again, a lot of these tier 2 eco upgrades are going to be coming in very soon. He's been getting his blacksmith upgrades. So I think the early game was pretty key for you here in this game. I mean, you got to be kind of ready for the typical Ghazi rush is going to hit your base. And how are you going to deal with those Ghazis? It's, you can wall off the backside like you did, make a few Limitani. Once you start making Limitani, he's probably going to start making archers, which then you can have the horsemen. And if you go longbows, you can use the longbows to kill them. If you go javelin throwers, the javelins can kill the archers. If you go Keshiks, that'll just help you in general against Ghazi and archer. So it really works either way. But I think with the early Limitani, you at least have a better chance in this game. You defend the early Ghazi push. He doesn't get the towers up. And it's possible he still could have tried to go fast castle. But at that point, it would have been harder for him to secure the sacred sites. He would have had to make more units to fight you, because he couldn't just take you on with 6 Ghazis if you were building Limitanis and attacking him. So I do think at this point in the game, he's got you. But if there was a possible way back into this game, it would be defending base, roaming with horsemen, and trying to find villagers on open resources. So one thing, having played Delhi myself, the last thing you want to do is transition into farms. So if you've scouted the map previously, even if you don't know the Delhi villagers are there, there's a pretty good chance that they're on the map food sources. And you can roam, 1 or 2 horsemen to each one of these and continually attack the food sources. And that's going to slow his army down, right? So I know you tried to do that really early, and I said don't do it because you needed to defend your base at that point. But once you've kind of stabilized your defense around your base, you say, okay, let's go get some raiding done with horsemen. Let's hit the food sources. And that should slow his army down. So again, here we have a lot of longbows, but longbows are just not good against the castle age composition that he has. And we definitely want to make sure when we age up the castle that we get our veteran contract so our longbows are upgraded to veteran. It's actually, I mean, it's really pretty cheap, right? 50 food, 125 gold, so that's important. Yeah, a lot of olive groves going down. So again, you're going for the sacred site. This was probably the best one to go to. No keep, and you need to decap at this point. But he's just got so much army. And we know he's making men-at-arms, so if at all possible, you need to make some crossbows here. I don't think you have an archery range. So I think this is probably the last fight. Yeah, and I mean, you technically have him in economy, right? But economy numbers, villager numbers, but you don't actually have him in economy because he's got 3 sacred sites. And that's like maybe 3 villagers per sacred site, 2 or 3 villagers, and he's collecting relics. So at this point, when we got 2 minutes left, I'd probably just call it. But you do, I mean, you do get a good Varangian mass up. Problem is, he's got men-at-arms and crossbows. A little weird he's building tower offense, but, you know, the men-at-arms can take the front line, and then the crossbows can kill all your men-at-arms. And that's the problem we run into there, so anytime we're going against men-at-arms, we really want something to hold the front line, and then we want crossbows. Because we want to be able to just have frontline units there to protect the crossbows, then the crossbows will work down all the men-at-arms. If I find this game again, I'm just interested in timeline, so yeah, you killed some villagers there when you went for the keep. So again, once you get kind of your base in Limitani to defend the base, then you make horsemen, then you go raid. And this specific matchup, right? Like, there are definitely matchups when you're playing against someone where you want to be the aggressor immediately with horsemen. But in this matchup, you know the Ghazi Raiders are coming for you, so make some Limitani, protect base, send horsemen out, kill villagers on food sources, and then you'll just kind of make units in feudal to counter whatever he's making. So Ghazis, you make Limitani. If he's making archers, you can make horsemen. Again, it's kind of up to you what military contract you want to go into. Longbows don't directly counter anything unless he's making spears, but they can still be used to pick off some archers, and they're generally good units. The javelins would be good at killing the archers, and then the Keshiks are just kind of all-around good units. So, yeah, you can see his military count kind of spikes at the end. Again, economy count's not showing that he has relics and sacred sites, which is a big one. And then we can see you float a good bit of resources, right? Which, I mean, I do as well. It's part of playing the game. You're going to float resources at some point. But I feel like every game, this game for you, any game I look back on, I'm like, man, I really need to make sure I'm spending my resources. So there was a time when you aged up to castle, which was about here, which is why you see the drop. You still had 1,700 total resources. So when you age up to castle, you want to be pumping out units during that transition. I think you had a lot of food. Yeah, you had a ton of food. So I'm just looking through the stats. Yeah, I mean his kill death ratio is really good, so it's going to be hard for hard for him to lose the game if he's just taking really good trades army-wise. So there was one point in the game, you didn't yet have early engagements are really important in the game. If you lose that early army, if we look at military timeline, uh, when you lose units, if you're losing more than him, his army will be exponentially getting bigger than yours, right? Like you almost have to play catch up if you're losing more units to catch what his army is at. If each engagement, he kills 2, loses 1, well, eventually he's going to have double the army size. So there are a few times you moved out early where you didn't yet have counter the Ghazis, and he was able to take some good trades, which puts you behind an army when you hit castle. And you did a decent job of almost catching up, but then it was really his unit counters and what units he had that was able to take you out at that point. So I hope those tips help. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions for me. And thanks for letting me review your game. I will see you next time.